Trauma has a way of shaping not only your memories, but also the patterns you live by long after the moment has passed. When you experience consistent hurt, neglect, or dismissal, your mind learns to adapt for survival. That adaptation often teaches you to accept treatment that dishonors your worth because it was the only way to keep peace or avoid further harm. Instead of recognizing disrespect as unacceptable, you start to see it as normal. Your nervous system adjusts to chaos until chaos feels familiar. This conditioning happens slowly, almost invisibly. A child who grows up being ignored learns that silence is their safest option. A person whose boundaries are constantly violated begins to believe they are not allowed to have boundaries at all. The more these patterns repeat, the more they become ingrained in your identity. You stop questioning whether you deserve better because the pain has been disguised as ordinary life. What you endured becomes what you expect. When trauma trains you this way, disrespect no longer sets off alarms the way it should. Instead of being shocked by mistreatment, you find yourself explaining it away. You say things like, "That's just how they are," or "could have been worse," convincing yourself that tolerating it makes you strong. But strength is not the absence of reaction. It is the courage to recognize what is wrong. Accepting less than respect is not resilience. It is survival mode that never learned to turn off. Over time, this tolerance leaks into every corner of your life. You might find yourself in relationships where partners dismiss your feelings, and instead of leaving, you shrink yourself smaller. At work, you might accept unfair treatment because speaking up feels dangerous. Even with friends, you may allow patterns of disrespect because you fear being abandoned if you assert your needs. These are not conscious choices to accept harm. They are the echoes of trauma whispering that you must settle. One of the most painful truths about trauma is that it convinces you your worth is negotiable. It teaches you that love, care, and respect must be earned through sacrifice and silence. You begin to believe that enduring mistreatment is the price of belonging. But these beliefs are not truths. They are the residue of wounds you did not deserve. Your inherent worth has never been defined by how others treat you. Trauma may blur that reality, but it cannot erase it. Living with this conditioning creates exhaustion that is hard to describe. Carrying disrespect as though it is normal chips away at your spirit, leaving you with a quiet heaviness. You may even blame yourself for not being able to break free, not realizing that these patterns are deeply wired into your nervous system. It is not weakness that keeps you stuck. It is programming, and programming can be rewritten, but only when it is first recognized. Understanding that trauma trained you to accept disrespect is the beginning of reclaiming your power. It means acknowledging that what you thought was normal was never okay. It means realizing that your body and mind were simply doing their best to protect you in the unsafe environments. And most importantly, it means you are not broken for having tolerated what you did. You are human, and humans adapt to survive, even when survival teaches the wrong lessons. When you grow up surrounded by unhealthy dynamics, your mind begins to confuse familiarity with safety. Even when those dynamics involve neglect, criticism, or disrespect, they become what you know best. The human brain naturally clings to what is predictable, even if it is painful, because predictability feels more secure than the unknown. This is why many people stay in situations that hurt them. They fear the discomfort of newness more than the pain of the familiar. What once harmed you begins to feel like home. Endurance becomes mistaken for loyalty, and silence is mistaken for strength. You might believe that staying in a toxic environment shows resilience or proves your ability to handle difficulty. In reality, it is often the conditioning of trauma that convinces you suffering is part of love. The problem is not that you are weak. It is that your nervous system has equated discomfort with normally. Instead of resisting mistreatment, you adapt to it, telling yourself that loyalty means bearing it all. This confusion shows up most clearly in relationships. You may cling to partners who belittle you, ignore your needs, or take advantage of your kindness. Instead of leaving, you rationalize their behavior by pointing to the good moments or comparing it to worse things you've seen. The cycle continues because your mind says, "This feels familiar, therefore it must be safe." Yet what feels safe to the nervous system is often exactly what keeps you trapped in harm. In friendships, this same pattern can cause you to remain close to people who drain you emotionally. You might constantly give listen and support while receiving little in return. When you feel exhausted, you may blame yourself for expecting too much. Familiarity tells you that this is just how relationships are, even though deep down a part of you longs for reciprocity. But because you have learned to accept imbalance as normal, you silence that voice inside you. Work environments can also mirror these patterns. You might endure bosses who disrespect you or workloads that overwhelm you because speaking up feels unsafe. Your trauma-trained response tells you to be grateful for what you have, even if it costs your well-being. You normalize burnout, mistreatment, and unfair expectations, convincing yourself it is part of success. But in reality, it is simply another reflection of choosing familiarity over health. The danger in mistaking endurance for strength is that it keeps you from pursuing true safety. Strength is not proven by how much disrespect you can survive. Real strength lies in knowing when enough is enough and walking away from what harms you. Trauma convinces you that leaving means failure or betrayal. But in truth, leaving is often the bravest act of self-love. Loyalty should never demand that you sacrifice your dignity. Recognizing the difference between familiarity and safety is a turning point. It means asking yourself whether the comfort you feel in a situation comes from genuine care or simply from habit. It means questioning whether silence is keeping the peace or erasing your voice. And it means remembering that love in its truest form should feel like freedom, not fear. What is familiar may have once kept you alive, but what is healthy is what will help you truly live. Awareness is the doorway through which healing begins. And without it, old patterns quietly repeat themselves. Trauma often operates like a shadow, guiding choices and reactions without you even realizing it. You may find yourself drawn to people who treat you poorly, not because you want disrespect, but because your nervous system recognizes it as familiar. This cycle continues until you stop and name what is happening. Awareness shines a light on the hidden training trauma left behind. The act of naming your experiences takes courage because it forces you to face truths you may have long avoided. It means acknowledging that what you endured was not just normal or part of life, but an injury that shaped how you see yourself. By putting words to your pain, you reclaim the power that silence once stole from you. You begin to see the connections between your past wounds and your present choices. This clarity is the foundation for change. Awareness does not mean blaming yourself for the patterns you repeat. It means recognizing that your brain and body did what they had to do to survive. For years, you may have accepted mistreatment because it felt safer than risking confrontation or abandonment. But once you become aware, you have the chance to choose differently. Instead of running on autopilot, you begin to act with intention. You move from surviving to reclaiming your power. The process of awareness often begins with discomfort. At first, it can feel painful to admit that you've allowed disrespect or tolerated things you never deserved. There is a temptation to turn away from the truth because facing it feels overwhelming. Yet, discomfort is not your enemy. It is a signal that something inside you is waking up. It is proof that you are beginning to see clearly what you once overlooked. One of the most important parts of awareness is breaking denial. Denial is a shield that kept you safe when you were not ready to handle the full weight of your trauma. But as you grow stronger, that shield begins to hold you back. By breaking denial, you stop excusing harmful behavior and stop settling for less than what you deserve. This does not happen overnight, but each moment of honesty strengthens your sense of self. Awareness also means noticing the stories you tell yourself. Trauma often plants beliefs like I'm not good enough, I don't deserve respect, or if I speak up, I'll be abandoned. These stories play on repeat until you mistake them for truth. Becoming aware means pausing to ask, who told me this? Where did I learn it? Yes, where did I learn it? By questioning these beliefs, you create space for new, healthier narratives to take root. With awareness, you begin to see the difference between what you were taught and what is actually true. You realize that disrespect is not love. Silence is not strength, and endurance is not loyalty. This shift does not erase your past, but it changes how your past influences your present. Awareness transforms pain into knowledge and knowledge into power. Is that power, you take the first steps toward unlearning what trauma once convinced you to accept. Boundaries are one of the most powerful tools you can use to reclaim your life after trauma. When you have lived through situations where your voice was silenced or your needs ignored, it is natural to feel guilty for saying no. You may fear rejection, conflict, or abandonment if you dare to assert yourself. But boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are the lines that protect your peace and define how you deserve to be treated. Without them, disrespect slips in unnoticed and becomes normalized. Learning to set boundaries often feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you were taught to believe that putting yourself first is selfish. Trauma conditions you to place everyone else's needs above your own, as if sacrificing yourself is the only way to be loved. But love that demands the loss of your identity is not love at all. By creating boundaries, you affirm that your value is not measured by how much you endure. You begin to step into the truth that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about teaching others how to treat you. When you communicate your limits clearly, you create a safe container for relationships to grow in honesty and respect. Those who truly care for you will honor your boundaries, even if it takes time for them to adjust. Those who resist or push back reveal their unwillingness to respect your worth. This clarity, though painful, is also liberating because it shows you who belongs in your life. The fear of conflict is one of the biggest reasons people avoid setting boundaries. Many worry that saying no will push others away, leaving them alone. But the truth is, boundaries do not drive away love. They filter out what is not love. Anyone who requires you to sacrifice your dignity to earn their presence is not offering love in the first place. Respect and care cannot exist without mutual understanding. And boundaries are what create that balance. Practicing boundaries also helps you rebuild trust with yourself. Every time you assert a limit and honor it, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. Trauma often leaves you doubting your own instincts, but boundaries help you reconnect with your inner voice. You begin to feel safer in your own skin because you know you can protect your heart. That self-trust becomes the foundation for stronger confidence and healthier choices. Boundaries come in many forms, from physical space to emotional limits to time management. They may sound like saying, "I won't allow you to speak to me that way," or "I need time for myself tonight." They may mean stepping back from toxic environments or limiting access to people who drain you. These decisions are not punishments for others. They are acts of love for yourself. Every boundary you set reinforces the belief that your well-being is worth protecting. The more you practice boundaries, the more natural they become. At first, you may second-guess yourself or feel guilt for putting them in place. But over time, you learn that boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are the bridges to healthier relationships. They create space where trust can thrive and where respect is non-negotiable. And in choosing to stand firm in your worth, you unlearn the lie that silence and sacrifice are the cost of love. Healing from trauma requires redefining what love and respect truly mean, because your past may have distorted those definitions. When you grow up or live in environments where disrespect is normalized, it can feel strangely familiar and even comforting. Your nervous system learns to equate chaos with connection, silence with safety, or mistreatment with attention. This confusion makes it easy to mistake unhealthy behaviors for love. Redefining these concepts allows you to separate comfort from harm. To begin this process, you have to ask yourself hard questions about what you believe you deserve. Do you think love requires suffering, or that loyalty means tolerating pain? Do you see respect as optional or something that must be earned through compliance? These beliefs often trace back to the lessons trauma taught you. By identifying them, you take the first step toward rewriting the script of how you allow yourself to be treated. Refining love starts with stripping away the lies trauma whispered into your heart. Love is not about endurance, submission. It is about safety, care, and mutual growth. Respect is not about power or fear. It is about listening, honoring boundaries, and valuing the other person's humanity. When you reshape these definitions, you build a new lens through which to evaluate your relationships. That lens helps you see clearly where true love exists and where only control or convenience reside. This redefinition does not come easily because it often means letting go of what feels familiar. Many people stay in harmful relationships because they confuse routine with love. They convince themselves that longevity or shared history is proof of care, even when the relationship is full of pain. But real love cannot thrive in environments where disrespect is tolerated. Choosing to walk away from harmful patterns is not giving up on love. It is giving yourself permission to experience it fully. Refining love and respect also involves creating standards that align with your worth. These standards become a personal compass that guides how you show up in relationships. They might sound like I deserve to be spoken to with kindness or love should not make me feel small by affirming these truths. You protect yourself from slipping back into old habits of accepting less than what you need. Standards are not about perfection. They are about honoring your humanity. As you unlearn unhealthy definitions, you also teach others how to engage with you differently. Relationships naturally shift when you raise your standards because they force people to arise to meet them or fall away. Some may resist at first, but those willing to grow with you are the ones worth keeping. The rest only reveal that their presence was conditional on your silence and compliance. This clarity, while painful, clears the path for relationships built on authenticity. Redefining love and respect is an ongoing journey, not a single decision. Each new interaction offers an opportunity to practice your new definitions and stand firmly in your truth. With time, your nervous system begins to adapt, and what once felt foreign, like peace, kindness, or consistency, becomes your new normal. You no longer mistake disrespect for passion or chaos for love. Instead, you embrace a healthier vision of connection where both love and respect are not optional but essential. Trauma often conditions people to accept roles of silence, endurance, and self-abandonment. But reclaiming your voice is the act that breaks those chains. Speaking up after years of being dismissed or ignored feels terrifying because your body remembers the consequences of being unheard. You may fear backlash, rejection, or conflict, which keeps you in a cycle of silence. Yet, every time you find the courage to speak your truth, you chip away at the power trauma once held. Your voice becomes the bridge between who you were forced to be and who you are meant to become. Reclaiming your voice is not about being loud or confrontational. It is about honoring your inner truth. For many survivors, the hardest part is believing that their perspective matters at all. Trauma convinces you that your feelings are too much or not enough, creating a silence that slowly erodes self-worth. But your voice is the evidence that you exist and that your experiences are real. Learning to express yourself with honesty is how you affirm your place in the world. The act of speaking up also reshapes your nervous system, which has been trained to shrink in the face of conflict. Each time you set a boundary or say what you need, you create new patterns that replace fear with confidence. At first, your body might respond with shaking hands or a racing heart, but that is only proof that you are breaking old cycles. Over time, your nervous system learns that expression does not equal danger. Your voice becomes a source of safety instead of fear. Finding your voice also shifts the dynamics of your relationships. People who relied on your silence may resist or even become angry when you begin to speak up. This reaction is not proof that your voice is wrong. It is evidence that your silence once served their comfort. The right people will adapt, listen, and value what you share, even if it challenges them. Speaking up forces the truth into the light, and only authentic connections survive that test. One of the most healing aspects of reclaiming your voice is the way it reconnects you to yourself. For so long, you may have denied your feelings just to keep the peace or avoid conflict. But when you allow yourself to name your emotions and needs, you realign with your authenticity. You begin to live in a way that reflects your inner reality, rather than suppressing it for others. That alignment is the foundation for self-respect and self-love. Your voice also serves as a model for others who are still trapped in silence. When people witness you speaking your truth, they see that it is possible to survive the discomfort and come out stronger. This creates ripples of courage that extend far beyond yourself. Reclaiming your voice is not just about personal healing. It is also about challenging the culture of silence that enables disrespect and mistreatment to thrive. By speaking, you invite others to do the same. The journey of reclaiming your voice is filled with both victories and setbacks. There will be times when fear wins and you fall back into silence, but even then, your awareness is proof of growth. Each attempt to speak is a step toward freedom, no matter how small. Over time, those steps create momentum and silence loses its grip on you. Your voice becomes a steady companion, a source of strength that proves you will never again disappear into the background of your own life. Healing from trauma and unlearning disrespect is not a solitary act. It requires the safety and presence of a supportive community. Human beings are wired for connection, and trauma often isolates people, making them believe they must endure everything alone. When you surround yourself with people who see you, hear you, and value you, you begin to rewrite the story that disrespect once authored in your life. Supportive community reflects back your worth when you are too tired or broken to see it yourself. Their presence becomes a mirror that shows you a healthier version of love and belonging. Finding such a community often begins with courage. The courage to leave spaces that dismiss your pain and to step into places that nurture your growth. For many survivors, this shift feels terrifying because the familiar, even when harmful, feels safer than the unknown. But growth only comes when you risk seeking connections that honor who you are becoming. Supportive people are not perfect, but they are willing to listen, respect your boundaries, and celebrate your journey without judgment. These small but powerful acts of care begin to repair the trust that trauma once shattered. The beauty of a supportive community is that it reminds you that healing is not linear, and you don't have to pretend to be strong all the time. In moments when you stumble or fall back into old patterns, your community holds you up without shame. They remind you that your progress is real, even when you can't feel it. Having others who validate your struggles makes it easier to keep moving forward rather than sinking back into isolation. It is in these shared moments of honesty that the deepest bonds are formed. A healthy community also teaches you new relational skills by modeling respect, empathy, and accountability. When you experience people honoring your voice instead of silencing it, you learn to expect that as a standard. When others consistently treat you with kindness, you begin to believe you deserve it. These repeated experiences start to rewire your nervous system, replacing fear with trust. Over time, you internalize these healthy dynamics and carry them into every area of your life. Supportive relationships are not just about emotional healing. They also provide practical strength for growth. Whether it's encouragement to pursue therapy, help with daily responsibilities, or simply someone to listen when life feels heavy, community offers tangible resources for recovery. Trauma often convinces you that asking for help is weakness, but leaning on others is a profound act of courage. Accepting support proves that you no longer have to survive by carrying everything alone. It allows you to experience both vulnerability and safety in the same space. As you grow within a supportive community, you also learn the importance of reciprocity. Healing is not only about receiving, it's about showing up for others in their struggles too. This mutual care strengthens your sense of belonging and purpose. You realize that your journey, while deeply personal, can also inspire and support someone else's. The community thrives when each person contributes their courage, compassion, and presence. Together, you create an environment where respect is the foundation and healing is possible. Over time, the presence of supportive relationships redefines your expectations for every connection in your life. You no longer tolerate environments where your voice is dismissed or your boundaries ignored. Instead, you seek out spaces where love and respect are not conditional, but constant. This shift does not just change your relationships, it changes the way you see yourself. In the safety of community, you discover that you are not too broken to belong, but worthy of love exactly as